Hey guys, this is the Natural and Zach Reynolds from Brisbane, Australia. This is CCP Podcasting. Check it out. We're here for a good time.
What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? Welcome back to Beyond the Bell. I am Chris Page. And that man over there with the luscious beard game rocking, that's John the Beast Cable. My man, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. Be happy to be back to another Beyond the Bell. You know how much I love doing these and how much this series is meant to the channel. So very, very happy to be back doing another
I mean, we've talked to, obviously, in-ring talent. We have talked to ring announcers. We have talked to producers. We have talked to, graphic department and show putter togethers. Uh, we haven't talked to a Fed head just yet until
one.
today.
Not yet.
From IWE Pro out of the great state of Georgia, Mr. Josh Fields. How are you, my man? Thanks for joining us today, man.
I'm doing great. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, no, we appreciate you. We appreciate the time because we know that is valuable and it's precious and we don't get it back. So we'll try and maximize the time that we have with you. John can attest to this over the last, I would say, 3 or 4 months now. We've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of tremendous talent from the great state of Georgia. One commonality and one common denominator amongst all those conversations is IWE Pro. And I think that, the best place to start is to give our audience a little bit of background on IWE and your location, all that good stuff, and we'll roll into some interesting questions for you.
So Timothy Blackman actually is the creator of IWE Pro. We started this probably back 5 years ago. He brought me on board. I literally had always been a fan, had no experience in the wrestling business whatsoever, and then we went from me helping to us going step for step, being I guess co-owners or however you call it, and it has grown beyond belief. Our We went from 75 to 100 to now we're having 450 to 550 in about a 3 to 4 year. Of course, COVID took us out for a year, so when we came back. We was drawing about 150, and from there we're drawing about 450 to 550 every show now. So the expansion, we're now going to run shows in North Carolina, starting here in a couple of weeks. June 2nd will be our first show in North Carolina. We had a step by step process when we started this. We wanted to go state, regional, and see how far we could take it. Never thought we'd make it this far, but we are here now. We've just partnered with IWN over in the UK as well, and we're putting together some great stuff for the summer. And I think a lot of people are going to be like, "How did this little independent in Georgia get here?"
That's the beautiful thing, though, about independent wrestling. Well, wrestling in general, we have a saying on the channel. It brings people together, and it does. And good wrestling, it can happen anywhere. And the big thing about who was we talking to the other night, John? We were doing we did a Portugal show, and that's it, WrestleFest or whatever the show was.
The
they were
WrestleFest, yeah,
they
in
were they
Portugal.
were pretty much a small independent in Portugal, and they came in, don't we're very small, right? Was ultimately what they were saying, but their product was spot on. Their ring action was tremendous. The production value was there, and if the company is willing to invest in those little pieces of the pie, you're going to be successful. So it doesn't surprise me to hear the growth that the company has had over the last 3 years. And it really makes me wonder where's it going to be in another 3 years, because it's going to continue to gain steam. It's going to continue to move forward. And that's something that you guys should pat yourselves on the back for. to be successful, running a successful independent company, it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not for everyone either. Luckily, I have a very supportive wife. Thank goodness, because she lets me. Because learning social media at 45 years old, I would not highly suggest that for anyone.
I hate social
It's
media.
taken me about a year to learn, and I'm still learning every day how to make it successful and when to tweet, when to post, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, it's a team collaboration, and we have a great team. We have probably about eight or nine guys that works behind the scenes for us, and without them, they make me and Tim's job a lot easier.
John, I see the wheels are turning over there, bud.
Well, I find it funny. He's like, as a 45-year-old man, as both of us in our 40s, learning social media and graphic editing and video chopping and all of the new things that were not involved in the industry when we were involved with it. It is very interesting to hear someone else in the same predicament doing the same things over and over. And I'm curious when you guys got hooked up about 4 or 5 years ago. You said what was the driver for you guys to really decide I'm gonna run an indie, we're gonna make this work, and how did that get started?
So Tim had been running a promotion on and off probably a long time. Me and him went to high school together actually, so we knew each other from then. And and he knew I was a big wrestling fan, so he reached out to me, and this is something I've always wanted to do, but I finally, you know, jump off the cliff without a parachute moment. Said, "I'm in. Let's do it." And we've had bumps in the road at the beginning. We had several flop shows that only had 75 people there, and it was very terrifying. But we stayed the course. This wrestling, just like any other business, no one's an overnight success. It takes years of work to finally find your secret sauce, and that's just like everything. I mean, we found out what our crowd liked, and we have the I would compare our crowd to closest to the ECW crowd as you'll ever find. It is
Oh,
a
the Georgia fan is definitely a hardcore enthusiast. They do like them some craziness.
yes, and and the good. There's no such thing as bad publicity. We were world star famous and TMZ famous and every other famous you could be from the little incident we had at ringside. And after that, it was like, here we go. So, you know, even though that was not the best night of my life, to get to my phone and see my phone blowing up. But
Well, it could be worse. You could have booked New Jack and mass transit. It could have been that.
very good point. Very good point. Yeah. Oh boy, what a story that is. But yeah, I mean, we've just found everything that's worked. I mean, it's been hard work. It's been trial and error, but we finally found what works.
Besides the funding of a Fed, because everybody knows that that's the real kicker in the ass. What have you found to be your biggest hurdle keeping the Fed running on a month to month basis and keeping the roster happy? Like what's been your biggest hurdle as a promoter, just keeping the gears turning every month?
Challenging myself. Um, I'm a very competitive person, and I am a perfectionist. So I really don't have
That doesn't
to.
always mix well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have to have anything to like keep me going because you know, one show we had 550, the next show we had 485, and I was pissed. And I-
You're
and
just
I was like,
competing against yourself at this point.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, me and Tim are very perfectionist. That we hate failure, so that's what keeps us going. As far as keeping the talent happy, treat them like human beings. You know, take care of them. If you make a connection with somebody and they say, who do you got that could come work for us? Check out our YouTube channel. We got everybody there. If there's a guy you want, go. Hell, I mean, like I say, Skrilla worked for Reality of Wrestling the same the same day he had a show with us. So luckily we had enough heads up. So what do? We recorded a cinematic match.
Yeah,
So
I talked to him
instead of
about that.
instead of saying, "Oh, I can't believe you scheduled the same day we did," just make it work. Take care of your talent.
It's a funny story
When
about
the
that. Hang
talent
on,
that
John.
works with you
Hang on,
have,
John. Hang
yeah,
on. Hang on. Funny story. So about the cinematic, and I only bring this up because our journey has been very organic. Like we just, like I was saying before we took the air, we don't have a plan. We just want to sit down and really explore independent wrestling. And in the process of doing this, we build relationships, and we've built a relationship with Skrilla. And we hope I'm not airing too much. We talk frequently on and off through DMs, even to this day. And the one thing I asked him was like, "So how are you? How is this going to work?" And you know what I mean? Like, I know you're in Texas right now, and I know that you've got this other thing going. And this is just a testament to him. He didn't say shit. He said you're just gonna have to wait and see. So I waited until I could find the results for your show, and I think I got it online somewhere. I saw a write up about it, and I saw cinematic. And I immediately went to my DMs and I sent Skrilla a message and I said, "You sly dog." Like it's very clever, and I mean, I haven't seen the match itself in its entirety yet, but the fact that you guys are able to pull that off and pull it together to get something done and something taken care of on a day like that was very creative, and if no one else has told you guys, like that was smart. Regardless of what the finished product, that was smart.
Yeah, because I mean, I even had people coming up to me going, "How can Skrilla be in Texas and in Georgia?" So I said, "Buy a ticket and find out."
yeah, it's magic, baby. You gotta
Mhm.
show up to
So
see, man. I don't know.
his initial response to me was outside of that. Then he followed it up with Rick Rude ain't got nothing on me, and I popped on that just because I'm an '80s baby and a '90s wrestling guy, and who could forget that Night Rude popped up in two places at one time? It was great.
That made sure his mustache was shaved.
Yeah, the whole deal, man.
Sure enough.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack, but because
Oh,
you
you're good.
mentioned, go ahead.
I can talk about late '80s, '90s wrestling all day long. So
Oh,
I mean that.
you'd love our
Hey, you
legend
got
show.
another co-host for Legends and Territories. There you go. You guys hook up.
Mm.
So I can tell you, and this is going to date myself here, but the very first match I ever seen, I was at my grandmother and grandfather's house, and just happened to be flipping through the channel, and they were showing the Magnum TA Tully Blanchard I Quit match.
Greatest cage match of all time. That's my
And
opinion.
after that day, I have been a wrestling fan ever since. I've had, we all have times where we go away from it, like, you know, things happen in life. But yeah, that was the match that hooked me.
I'm here for it. I can do '80s wrestling, and we don't even need to go down that rabbit hole, or we won't.
Yeah, we don't because we'll be here for far too long.
Well, before
Exactly.
we fall in the hole, we've talked extensively now about how the roster for you has, they have nothing but great things to say. Everybody that we've talked to that brings up the Fed really has stellar things to say about the way you handle them and the way you treat them and the way you're interested in building their careers. And that is not something that every company or every Fed head is known for. So how is it that you fostered this kind of a relationship with your roster and kept that as a cornerstone for what your company's doing? Because it does seem like that is a flagstone of what your office at least is trying to do with the roster.
So it basically boils down to one thing. I respect you, you respect me. And I know it's kind of a boring answer, but
It's
everybody
not.
everybody now is looking out for themselves. And I get that to a point, but if once again, if we're taking care of someone, then when they go somewhere else, they're going to say, "Hey," like apparently they've done with with your show. Like, "Hey, these guys down at IWE Pro, they care about me," and that's what we want. We there's a this is a very very tough business, and it can be brutal, especially with the online world you have today, social media, and we just want them to know that we care about them. And I think if you ask anybody, if you ask Bryce, Skrilla, Naja, whenever they come to a show, we're just not, yeah, go get in the ring and work, and we do something crazy. You know what we do before the show?
What's that?
We we actually pay the wrestlers before the show.
I love to hear that.
I do too.
Yeah,
I love to hear that. As an old head worker, there is nothing worse than waiting at the end of the show to see if your envelope comes through the locker room.
yeah. I mean, and once a year for our final show, we bring in a catered meal for the talent on our last show of the year, just to thank them for a hell of a year. I mean, it's just little things. I mean, if you do big things all the time, I think that kind of shows that you might be a little fake. But if you do the little things all the time, that probably shows you're genuine.
And devil's in the details all the time.
Facts. John, go ahead.
So after COVID, you guys come back, and you're building the audience back again. And we know we've talked to lots of people that have been dealing with wrestling around the COVID era. What was the one thing that you noticed from pre-COVID to after COVID, that was not, maybe not a stumbling block, but something that you guys had to figure out and overcome in building that audience back?
Getting our audience. The first show we had to do an outside show, which was a headache. Um, the first show back indoors, it was just people getting comfortable being back around each other. Uh, we did have to, do the 6 feet rule and the mask and all that stuff. But once our crowd people just wanted to go out and do something, and once they were able to do that, we just kept growing and growing, and we really haven't had any obstacles. I mean, it's since we come back from COVID, it's been pretty much smooth sailing. I mean, I wish I could say we had a bunch of obstacles, but it came back on fire.
Did you notice a decline in the number of companies that were operating after COVID as opposed to the ones before? I know you guys have a billion companies in Georgia that are operating right now, but did you see a decline in those numbers after COVID?
I only think that a couple of promotions, maybe outside of Atlanta, closed down. But as far as the most part, the bigger companies, I mean, everybody stayed afloat. Thank goodness.
So everybody that had a market pretty much just came right back to it and was like right back to work.
Right. I mean, and the ones that were affected mainly was the ones that started up right before COVID, and
Didn't have
probably
time to build a
yeah,
fan base.
yeah. Then once and it took a lot of toll financially on a lot of people, as we all know, and some people weren't fortunate to be able to hold on.
That is a fact across the industry. Do you see a difference in the academies coming through, like the students, the talent that's new to the business? Do you see a difference there? Because I've noticed, like, it seems like the new classes that are coming up in the last couple of years, where we've talked to some people across the globe, and it seems like before you might get 2 or 3 kids out of a 30-man class that make it to the end and get in the ring and stay in the business. Whereas now that's completely flipped over. It's like a lot of kids are making it through the cut, getting into the business, and not so many people falling off. Do you see that as a trend in your area as well?
Oh yeah, I mean you can see. I mean we have you can see the local talent, the ones that come. There's one in Columbia, which is about 45 minutes from here. There's several local, well, with local within an hour, 2 hours, and you can just tell the amount of talent that they have. They're being very receptive, and you know I haven't been in the business as long as most people have. I've heard about training, quote unquote, training schools that actually just was there to take your money and say you were trained by somebody.
Hmm.
But you can tell that the talent that's training the up and coming classes are really they're actually training them.
What do you think the difference is from now to maybe even just a decade ago? The driving factor behind that is.
I really think that people are starting to just care about other people. Like, I mean, I've heard the horror stories of these wrestling academies and all this stuff, and you can just tell that they're getting more one-on-one attention, and their people are actually caring about their success going forward instead of, just grabbing the money and running. And I hope I
So it
don't
might
step
just
any
come.
toes.
No, no,
I
no. I
hope
mean, I'm
I
asking about your experience and what you think about the industry doing what it does. Because I know for us, 2 decades ago, there was maybe only a couple of kids would make it out of a training class with you. I know Paige has got a very similar story. You had 20 people start on the weekend of training week, and then by the end of the few weeks training courses, there's only 3 kids standing, and everybody else is kind of fallen off. And that is definitely not the way the industry is working right now. And I don't know if it's
Well,
just the talent being more educated before they start, or if it's the trainers that are pushing the agenda better now. I don't know what it is, but I'm glad to see that the new generation is definitely filling in the gaps of the older guys falling off.
well, you've got more options now. I think that's a large part of it. You have more, there are a lot of companies that run training facilities out of, as a part of their company. That was not the case 20 plus years ago. Like, it just wasn't. So I could see those that would want to take advantage of that. Like, if you go through a training school, it doesn't mean that you can't go to another. It's like we were talking to Bryce Cannon. He said, like, I
Mm-hmm.
started here and I got this just didn't feel right. So then I went to learn from Robert Gibson, and I went over here and I learned from this guy, and I learned from this one too. Like, it just continues to evolve. That wasn't there back in our day.
Yeah, I mean, you got in Atlanta, you have the Nightmare Factory. I mean, you got Cody Rhodes and QT there. I mean, that's their training school. They're not going to just put their name on something. They don't. I mean, they have a showcase at the end of their school. I mean, I'm watching some of these matches, going, "Wow, they learned that quick." I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh yeah, we watched a showcase with Dusty not that long ago from his training academy down there, and the students coming out of those schools are phenomenal right now. Like that was a
is
really great show for those kids.
is there a training school or any deal like that attached with IWE Pro at this point?
Not currently. That's one of the things we have on our agenda, but
I was gonna
not
say,
currently.
is there a plan for that? You said you came into this with a plan, so I was just curious.
Yeah, there is a definite plan for that. Now, when it will happen, I mean, we got so many irons in the fire right now. Yeah, and also, believe it or not, I have a full-time job, and it's not wrestling. So, there's only so many
Welcome to the
hours in the
Indies.
day.
Nope, I feel you
Yeah.
100% there. If I could for just a second, let's talk about the deal that you guys recently made with IWN over in the UK. Like, that's a big opportunity to get more eyeballs on your product. How did that come together?
Just really by happenstance. I'd reached out to Billy, just telling him, yeah, like, hey, would this be an idea? Because I actually was going through my YouTube TV and it popped up and I was like, wow, they have a whole network here.
Hmm.
And then I reached out and was like, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? And he was like, absolutely. He wanted to go outside the UK and venture out the United States. And I was like, well, let us be the first. And then a lot of conversations, and then here we are.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that
So
seems like a no-brainer match made in heaven.
we're making friends with IWN TV over in the UK as well. So when I saw
Yep.
that deal come through, so I'm I despise
and I had to
social,
keep it quiet. I mean, we literally no one knew.
bro.
Me and Tim was the only ones that knew.
When I saw you tweet the press release, so first of all, I despise social media, and if I didn't have to use it to promote my shit, I wouldn't use it at all. I wouldn't be
It
on
would
it. You
not be
wouldn't be
on
able. You
there.
wouldn't find me on it. I don't. That's just not for me. But when I saw, I literally scroll through looking for, just posts that I can retweet, that I can share, that I can just put out there. And I keep an eye on you guys. Obviously, we've got some friends up there now. So I keep an eye on you and several other the feds up there. And I saw that release come across. First of all, I saw the teaser tweet, and it was like, "Stay tuned, some kind of announcement's coming at such and such time." Well, for whatever reason, I didn't see that when it was tweeted, but I saw it like 3 minutes before the time of the announcement was supposed to be made. Right, so I just hung out and waited. I saw that press release. I immediately on the inside, I jumped for joy because at the end of the day, if getting more eyes on the product, right? Like that's the goal. And for an indie that didn't have that opportunity. Like it warms my heart because there's so much great shit going on the independent scene right now that nobody ever sees, and
Yep.
it's because of how everything's algorithmically on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. But to get this opportunity out there, like I jump for joy, and I don't jump. I'm a big man. But I jump because to me it's like this is what I like to see. This is what I want to see. It puts you out there, and it's got to be a good feeling for you guys as a company.
Yeah, and also we are working on a deal, and that's one of the main reasons that we're venturing out to North Carolina is because we need content, and we're actually going to be on the Roku network, probably in June or July, I believe. So we'll be there. We're we're going to be all over the place. You're
So
going to
you're looking to expand your roster through acquisitions and networking, just like we're looking to expand our showcase.
right. If you stand still, you're being left behind.
I
No,
100%
that's a
agree with
fact.
that. If there's anything that we can do to help you guys, you just let us know. We'll be more than happy to.
Absolutely.
Uh, but I feel like you guys are on the cusp of breaking through and breaking out and setting yourself aside and putting yourself on a different level. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to any promotion out there. I'm just saying off of the conversation that I'm having with you, this is the moment that you've been waiting for. This is the moment that the roster's been waiting for. And to get this opportunity takes me into like my next questions for you, my next series of questions for you is the creative flow. How do you guys make this work? I feel stupid asking this question because I think I already know the answer, but for context purposes and for the audience out there who may not get an opportunity to talk to a Fed head or get it to pick their brain, what does that look like for you guys to keep your roster happy creatively, but also you've got this thing in the back of your head that there's a good opportunity that your shit's about to explode a little bit.
Yeah, so on that, once again, we have a team. Uh, Tim, Coach Mikey, and Caleb Kitchens and Brian, they are the creative. I am the social media and the promotions guy. We all have our roles, stay in our lane, and that's what has made this thing perfect. When it comes to creative, I throw out ideas, but they have way more experience than I do on the creative side. So I stay in my lane, and that is promotions and trying to raise money.
I hear you say that. It makes me smile because it's not a whole lot of people that would stay in their lane in that regard. They'd be like, oh no, let's try this. Oh, let's try this. Let's do this. I booked for about 6 months in 2001, and it was the worst 6 months of my life. I would never do it again because there's so many different things that you have to appease, and nobody really gave a shit back then about the overall product. It was all, me, 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 me,
That
me. So to see that and I think now to a degree there's still some of that out there. Don't get me wrong, because if you're in the industry, you got an ego. Let's be fair, and everybody wants to be the best. They want to be on top. John, let me come around to you.
Yeah, on that note, I know when we were around the business, 20 years ago or whatever, there was that mentality of like, if I don't get my shine, I'm never gonna make it to the big show. But with the movement of the entire industry into this new era where you don't have to be on WWE or AEW or TNA to get noticed and get famous on the internet because everyone can stream everything. Where where do you find the biggest impact for a roster member to build the company? Is that even something that you're thinking about when you're looking at your roster, or are you just trying to do the best thing with the individual, or are you doing it as a big picture? What's the interaction between you guys and the creative end of that to get the roster where they want to be and keep them appeased?
We have a simple philosophy in IWE. Our locker room, we have the perfect mix in our locker room. If you talk to anybody when they come to IWE and they come through our locker room, by the time they get ready for the show, there's never about creative. There's been that we've not had one huge fuss or anything about who's going over, who's not going over. We have a team atmosphere because they know that we are going. It doesn't matter who's on our roster. We are going to push them to the moon through social media, through our YouTube channel. I mean, we promote everyone equally. But your question about getting noticed, it is if you work hard enough now with social media and YouTube. I mean, if you put in the effort, you're going to get noticed.
Facts.
No, 100%. The industry is in a completely different place than it's ever been before, and I love the fact that independent wrestling, especially now, feels more like the territories used
Yep,
to,
I was just going
where
there.
you're just filling in this gap where there's places you can get to that fans want you to be in, and seeing so many promotions being able to fill in, 400 or 500 seats, man, that's impressive.
Well, I mean, and it is much easier to cut a promo now because I mean, it's you have a phone. I mean, if you have The Rock cutting a 45-minute or however long that promo was, and that was done on his phone. If The Rock can do it,
So can
everybody should
everyone
be.
else.
I mean, you should be. They're not. There should not be a question about.
Oh, the
Oh, I
the
don't know.
camera in this thing is better than the cameras I have on both of my computers and my handheld. My phone
Right,
camera is better than all of them.
right. So I mean, that's just the thing. Social media has taken over the industry. I mean, yeah, like I say, I've been taking online classes for a year trying to learn how to do this stuff. So, but it is so easy to get yourself over now, easier than it's ever been before.
That's if people put in the work. I
Yeah.
really think that, like John said, this is the new territory system. This is the new territory days. The modern day territories, if you will, because the independent scene is booming everywhere. Everywhere in the U.S., in Canada, it's booming in Australia. It's in the U.K. There's
All over Europe. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Portugal that
insane.
we just recently found out. Like there's so much happening, and again, it's a testament to for good, bad, or indifferent, the evolution of professional wrestling, and where we're headed next, which kind of loops me into where I'm going with my next question for you. You've seen all this growth over the last 3 years, especially well, I'm just post COVID. You've seen all this growth, and like, where do you see IWE going next? Like, obviously, 2024 has started out prosperous. Uh, I think that I feel like the what was it? It was the I can't even remember the show name at this point. You used the Goonie reference as
Never say die.
that's it. The heavy promotion for Never Say Die, and I feel like that event was successful for you guys. You just got your deal with IWN UK. Where do you think the next logical steps for you guys for the next throughout 2024 and say the next 3 years? Where do you see your growth going?
Currently, right now, we have for the rest of the year, we have shows scheduled in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Which South Carolina is right on the border of Georgia, so I actually live in South Carolina. So we're going to be in those three states. I would love to do a couple of shows in Florida. Um,
Hey, that's our neck of the woods.
Yep.
okay, yeah, I've reached out to several promotions in Florida, um, and we really want to do at least one show in Florida before the end of the year. So as far as we've just monetized on YouTube finally.
Yep.
So that took
Congratulations.
forever.
I
Thank you.
I know
We understand
it
that
is a
struggle and how
slow
long it takes
process.
and how hard it is.
Yeah. So yeah, we just want to grow our social media, get the IWE name out there, and and one thing we're working hard to do is to do a live feed, but unfortunately, the venue we run our events in are just so old. It is hard to get a good signal out of there.
Man,
Oh yeah, nowadays that is very important.
Yeah, so that's our next goals in 2024. Um, in 2025, I I haven't even got that far down the road in my head yet.
it's hard to plan that far ahead, especially when the game is constantly changing and the evolutions there. Let me ask you this, and you may or may not have an answer for it. When you guys are putting your shows together and you're looking at possible dates, there's several promotions that share a lot of the talent up there. How do you guys, or do you guys, like, do you talk to the other promotions like, hey, we're gonna run this day, and if, let's say, there's someone else running, and on, let's say, a Saturday, and I know that Deep South will book their shows around 3 p.m. And if somebody else has something going on, they'll be able to make a quick ride to the next town, if you will, for the next show, doing a double shot. How does that work? Is that something that you guys as promoters and kind of owners get together on? Or is it just
We
kind of,
really don't.
go ahead.
We only have one. We have one big, one independent organization that runs in Thompson, Georgia, which is probably 30 minutes from where we run. We run the opposite month they do. We just know they run the same schedule the whole time that we've been open. So we just run the complete opposite month they do. So we'll never compete with them.
Oh, facts. All right, that's I like hearing that too, because it's like,
I like hearing that too.
I know, just all your ears.
Even if it was just for the roster, being able to work both shows and keep themselves active in the ring and get those reps in, that makes it easier for them to make money and get their name out there and get footage for themselves. So the fact that you guys are conscious of that is another one of those keystones to keeping your roster happy and why they speak so highly of working with you.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the whole point. I mean, it's WWE's not going to call Josh Fields. AEW is not going to
Hey, you
call
never
me.
know. I saw Triple H in a ring in a nowhere town in UK just earlier today.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that
Yep.
yet.
Yeah, he was
That's
he
crazy.
was in a nowhere bumfuck ring in a small indie fed. congratulating the fans for being there, because that's where the industry starts. And you never really know. You don't.
Yeah. I mean, we have had, I do know for a fact that WWE has watched one of our shows because a talent that got signed by them on an NXT contract actually watched him perform in one of our shows. So, but what I was getting at is it's all about getting your talent over. If I could ever, I mean, if I could ever do anything for a talent, I would. I mean, I would. I mean, whatever they needed from me, I've done it, and I'll continue to do it because if they're happy, they're coming in, they're going to perform at a high level for us. Just not
Hmm.
get there and get a payday and get out, and and they want to come work for us, and that's the ultimate compliment that I can get is, yeah, we love working for IWE.
Dude,
Perfect.
and we hear it from everybody that's worked for your company that works around Georgia. Every time we ask them about, hey, what promotions, you guys are at the tip of the tongue all the time. The amount of respect that the workers have working with you guys is absolutely evident, and it's why we reached out to you in the first place. It's like, hey, no, these guys are always the first guys they're talking about. We should definitely get with them and find out what's going on there to make it so special.
Yeah, just as long as you don't ask me about the current product of any other organization, I'm good.
I mean, we do have some questions about like what we think about the industry and where it goes, and
I mean,
I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
well,
I
while we're on the topic of the industry in general, what was one of the big things that you were looking forward to the most that fell through for you, and why was it missing the match between between the frat daddy and Cordona the other day?
No comment.
ah
Damn the TSA. I'll just go for it for you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no comment.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
we did show up about 30 minutes late, and apparently we missed that. So
yeah.
just
Well,
yeah,
if it's any consolation for you, Frat Daddy was very upset that you missed it. He was looking forward to showing off for you guys.
yeah, we got. I mean, we literally got there, and I was like, what did we miss, and how did we miss this? But it
Everything.
Well,
happens. I
we
mean,
we
it happens.
we've come to the conclusion, and we blame Matt Cardona for the footage not being shown just
Yep.
yet. We
Yep.
have condemned Cardona for it, and actually, realistically, why I mentioned his name, Positive Vibes sent out. He tore his pec and underwent surgery, I think, today.
Hmm.
So as of this recording, so we hope that he gets back, and we also learned that Bryce Cannon tore his knee up, and he's going to be out for the rest of 2024. We
Yeah,
were privy to some of that. A lot of yeah, we were privy to that. I think before anybody else was, and we were hoping yesterday, which peel the curtain back.
That we would
It's
hear better
January
news,
more.
but
It's April 17th, guys, of this recording. So we're recording this obviously early. We talked to him last night, and he said he's going to find out today. And I saw us literally before we came on the air. I saw the tweet, and I went, man. But I also, like I told him last night, like you're gonna come back stronger, and you're gonna come back way better. You just things happen, but he's one of those that I feel has a genuine love for the industry. That it's not a matter if, it's a matter of when, and I would venture to say that the tip is going to be on point when he walks back out through the curtain.
it'll be gelled and glazed, ready to go.
I yeah, that one hurt. I mean, with to hear that news, that stuff like that kills me, especially at the way he's been at his ascent over the last 2 years. And
Meteoric.
I mean it, yeah. But I reached out, I sent him a message and said, He probably hasn't read it yet because he's probably got 9 million of them. But I just told him everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
Maybe, maybe, maybe your body needed a rest. You never know. But everything happens for a reason.
for sure. He's such a good dude, and really and truly, like everybody that we've talked to, it's not just one conversation. Like all of us kind of stay in touch with each other after we do one of these shows because we build a genuine connection, and these guys are, uh, you know. 100 I feel like they're 100% genuine with us, and we get to know them as a person. That's something Bryce told us last night. He was like, it just makes you guys so different is you come across genuine, like you want to know about us and know about me. Yeah, that's why you're here and what you're doing,
Yep.
and how do you affect the industry, because everybody plays a role, and everybody's role, it is what they determine it to be. I think that the state of where IWE Pro is headed is leaps and bounds. I think it's going to be leaps and bounds more over the next year, with or without, in this case, without Bryce being in the equation or not. The talent level in the state is just it's sick. It's
It's
astronomical.
unreal.
And
Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, we get asked all the time is like, why don't we bring in all these bigger stars
I don't
from
think that
like
anybody in Georgia needs to bring in
we
anybody.
don't
You
need
guys
it.
have such a deep roster everywhere
Yeah.
with
I
so
mean,
many talented young guys.
we just don't need it. I mean, we got enough talent here. We don't need. I mean, not that saying we don't look for talent elsewhere, but I mean it's right here in our backyard.
I don't know what y'all put in the
Yeah, I don't.
water there in
Yep.
Georgia. Like it's something totally different,
Well,
and I'm loving the fact that this is Georgia's one of the first states that opened up to us on this adventure, because we're really, really getting a peek into what makes professional wrestling in Georgia tick through the talent, through speaking to you and several of the other conversations that we have coming up. Like we made a joke about it when we came on the air that this month on Beyond the Bell it's Georgia month, because it started with Naja. We had Rico, we had Bryce. You're here. Next week's Deion Summers. Like Georgia's taken over, and
Krilla's been on a couple of times.
that's perfectly fine, because we want to put the light on those who want to have the light put on them that maybe you wouldn't usually get the opportunity to have it. And like we tell the guys, you can use it for practice for cutting a promo. Do practice
Hmm.
for doing an interview. Like it is what you make it.
yeah, this is definitely not my cup of tea. Tim's usually the guy that's in front of the camera, so this is definitely. I love to be behind the camera, and I don't want any. You know, I'm not usually the spotlight guy, so yeah, it's a little out of my comfort zone, but we're letting it roll.
You guys.
Well, we are happy that you decided to step out of your box and enjoy some time with us for sure. When we were talking about these injuries with all the guys really just kind of having these setbacks, what does that look like from the office's perspective when you've got a guy in your roster that you maybe had a plan built around? How does that adjustment happen? What do you need to do, and what steps do you take as a company to try to soften the blow for the fans and the storylines?
Well, the good news is this is independent wrestling, so you have to be able to book on the fly. You never know what's going to happen. If somebody's going to be in Kansas the night before and they got to fly in, and you have a bad storm and they can't make the show, what do? You just have to make it work. I mean, it's not easy, but luckily we got a great team of creative guys that can flip the script real quick.
Lean on the writers. Absolutely great answer. I
That's
love
why
that.
they're
And I
there.
really love, dude,
You-
I love the fact that you are the kind of guy, and I think this probably plays into too why the roster likes working with you guys so much. You seem like the kind of guy who's running the company. Yeah, you're doing the FedEd thing, you're doing the PR, you're doing all the socials, but you recognize that your writing staff are the writers and that they're the ones handling the story, and that your editors are the editors and they're the ones that are handling the production, and you seem like you trust the crew that you work with, and that is so refreshing to see from someone.
I mean, we have so many people that Tim, who is the owner. I don't know what my exactly role title is, except everything. You've got Paige's wife who works the ticket counter. You got Danny Mead who is the technical guy. Like a Chris Cushman who also helps out behind the scenes. You just got so many people that we've jumped on board. I mean, we have. I mean, I don't want to talk about anybody else, but I feel like we have the greatest team, and that has been the reason we've been successful is because of a team, not one person, not one talent, but the team.
What's some advice from you to other Fed heads maybe on collecting those kinds of guys that you can rely on and really keeping them around? Because that I think for me was one of the big problems is just having the team that you know that you could trust, and then them staying and not getting picked off by other guys.
I mean, I'm not want to toot my own horn here, but I said it earlier. Like, I have a role, I stay in my lane. Other people have a role, they stay in their lane. They don't ever want to say, "Hey, let me jump on the social media side." They're like, "Nope, that's Josh. We're going to do this, and I do this, and this person does that." We trust them, respect them, know they're going to get the job done. We don't have to micromanage or sit there and go, "Oh, well, I would do it this way." I couldn't tell Danny Mead how to do any of the technical stuff with the computers and the lighting because I have no idea. And I would never say, "Oh, well, I would do it this way." I don't even know what I'm doing. So we try to keep it. Everybody stays in their lane and works hard as a team to put the product on every other Saturday night to make sure it's the best product we can possibly put out there. Can
Yeah.
you tell I love our team?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
absolutely can. Because every time we've asked something about how does this work in the office, you're like, well, there's a guy for that, and he does his job, and I know he'll get it done, and I don't have to worry about it. And I love that
That's
coming from
so,
you, especially.
it's
It's so good
so simplistic. You would think everybody would do it. Am I right? Like it's just,
that you would think so. What's
oh,
Yeah, I mean it's whenever I've done a couple of these podcasts, and when everybody's like, "What's off limits?" I said, "I'm not talking about 6 letters because I'm not having the pitchforks come after me. I'm good. We can talk about. I'll talk about anything in the '80s and '90s, but current product, nope, not doing it."
with a 10-foot pole and heard. I understand.
no, I get it.
But
I'm there.
you know, so can I ask you all got you a question?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So I know this is a little dated right now. So what do you think about the backstage footage that was shown on television?
Paige, you want to handle that one first, and then I'll go in with the hot take.
So I don't buy any
This
of
is
it.
worse than a political debate.
I don't buy
I
any of
love
the
those too.
excuses as to why it was put out there. I think they knew what they were doing, and again, as of this recording, it's a week after that incident, probably 3 or 4 weeks at this point by the time the show airs. I think the ratings tonight will determine if it was a success or a failure. I personally wouldn't have done it. I don't see to me it looked cheap. It looked like I know that everybody capitalizes off of WrestleMania. Let's be fair. Let's me backtrack and
Hmm?
preface it with that. A lot of indies run whatever city. A lot of shows are going on around WrestleMania. That is by design. And if I'm in the business and I have the capital to take a show to a host city of WrestleMania, you're goddamn right I would do it without batting an eyelash. But at the end of the day, this was AEW's way of doing just that. Piggybacking off of WrestleMania and piggybacking off of the Punk interview on MMA Hour. Personally, don't think that it drew 62,000 additional viewers to their product. 62,000.
That's a lot. It's a big
Uh,
number.
it
It may
took
not be.
it
It may
took
be
them
a little less than a drop in a bucket, but
it
it's a
took
big number.
it took them to 812,000 viewers for that particular week. I don't think it drew what they thought it was going to draw. And I'm not a big fan. I think that they could have gotten to where they were getting to without doing that. And the parlay to that, wasn't Adam Copeland in the ring a week prior to that saying, "Guys, let's bury all this, and wrestling can be, you can like all wrestling." And a week later we do this. Okay. And I mean, I get it. The promo with the Bucks, they were heel as fuck. Cool, no problem. The promo afterwards from FTR, okay. Does it make me more excited to see them do this again? No. But I'm not. That's not my style of wrestling. So that's my take on it. I feel like they wasted their time, and they this tonight when I wake up tomorrow and I see what the ratings are by tomorrow afternoon, if they are not 812 or higher, it's a failure. John?
So my hot take is a little bit different. I think that they expected people to buy it. And I think that was their play, is that they wanted somebody to think that it was real, and that drama would drive the ratings higher and higher. And instead what it's done is it's opened up this new niche of footage from backstage, and I've seen several other indies kind of take a jab at it and have promoted some of their storylines and angles through this like backstage found footage thing, and it's become a meme instantaneously. And for Jack to go out with the Crimea River motto now and to do all of it, like just keep poking at it, I don't know that it worked out for AEW as well as they wanted it to, but it's working out for everyone under the sun that's taking jabs at it. So, did it do well for them? I don't know. Did it do well for the industry? Man, there's a wealth of memes out here. So, if you're into meme culture, man, this is a win win all over the place.
Okay, so I lied. I'm going to talk about it. Okay, if the footage they would have shown would have been the complete opposite of what he said on that podcast, it makes sense.
Yep.
But it was exactly play by play of what he said on the podcast that happened. So why would you say, "Oh, the guy over at WWE, he's right"? It made no sense to me to
Well,
show it.
I think
It
they
was like
wanted to spin the narrative in a direction that made them look like the big guy and not the little guy, and I think it backfired
well,
horribly.
for context purposes here, the Bucks are EVPs, and they went into this segment using the altercation as the reason why they lost their match. Is they were dealing with an incident, and the incident was that, and it took them off their game. That was the context behind it, because I know people are going to listen to this, and I guarantee you, it's a
A
month.
loss
It
is a
happened a
loss is a
fucking month
loss.
ago at this point. By the time the show airs, but I guarantee you the comments are going to flow on it. So I want to make sure that we lay this out and really dive deep, because at the end of the day, I want AEW to be a success, because it's just another place to work. It's another place for the guys to work,
I agree
uh,
with that
and
wholeheartedly.
and if there's a fan out there who wishes any place to close down, well, fuck you. Number one, then
Yeah, I
get.
don't
I
find that you
don't
are a
want you
fan
should
of the
you should
industry.
probably shouldn't be watching professional wrestling. Like I have a saying with anybody that asks me a question about that, and it's if I don't like it, I don't watch it, and if I don't watch it,
Mhm.
it doesn't give my attention, right? Like I can control what I watch. I can also control what I say about it. So the biggest problem I think in the industry right now, and you can direct your hate tweets to @fireside page. I think it's the tribalistic nature that a wrestling fan has right now. So, and I say that
Agreed.
Like I was doing we did a little as a fuck around show is what I would call it. It was Ring Bell Radio, and we did an episode and we discussed this, but I didn't air it because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's not my opinion on it's not going to change anything. So, and with the casual fan or the fan nowadays, and with social media being what it is, everybody's a keyboard warrior. You can say whatever the fuck you want to say from behind a screen, behind through a text. I
Mm.
was like, I'm just not gonna do it. And in this situation, I agree. I don't think they should have been played. What did you gain out of it? And the undertones. Jack Perry's coming back off of it. Okay, cool. That's all right. I get it, but still, I
Yeah.
it is what it is. I hope that they can turn shit around. Like I used to be an avid AEW watcher. I'm not gonna lie. I don't watch it anymore. I read it. I can't.
So it's funny. I believe when the Fiend, was it the Fiend and Seth Rollins that had the Hell in a Cell match,
Oh,
and at the end of that match, they were chanting AEW. The fans were chanting AEW.
oh, it's
Isn't it
terrible.
crazy how? Isn't it crazy how times can change so quick?
Well,
Well, it's because the fan base in the industry is fickle. It always has been. It'll flip flop its mind change
yep.
every other fucking second.
Yep. I mean, that's just I was just putting that for context. It's like how quick things can change, and now the WWE can do no wrong. I mean,
Well,
they're just well. I mean,
It
I'm
still
talking about
has
in
it still
general.
has its haters. There's plenty of them, but those
Yeah.
guys are definitely being a lot more quiet right now.
Yeah.
facts.
So
John, you got
So
you got anything else?
yeah, man, I got so many
All
things.
right, go.
I could literally take this man's time for the rest of the day. So speaking of the industry in general, what do you think is the biggest opportunity for wrestling as a business to move into this new era that it's embracing and really build into what this territory feels like? Because every indie right now feels like it's trying to build its own niche and its own popularity, and yet there's still this idea of, well, I'm going to graduate to the big stage among a lot of roster members, and that's still the goal of rosters, even though I don't believe that that's the necessary move now, where 20 years ago indie feds were never going to be as big as WWE. I don't think that that's the case anymore. There are so many indie feds with so much good product. Where can independent wrestling as a whole really build on and make sure that this era of wrestling goes forward the way it's building right now? What do you think our opportunity is as a company?
I think that in the last 3 to 4 years, well, since COVID, people are willing to change with the times. And back when I was growing up watching wrestling, you know, if no one would adapt to change. I mean, I hate to say this because it's pretty much the scumbag of the earth of all the information that we found out. But Vince was always ahead of the curve. He was always
Well, he
one.
set the tone for the whole industry. Yeah, by
Yeah, he
far, he
was.
had the money to do it and kept the control on it.
Yeah, he was. One step ahead. He thought ahead and not like. I mean, it's like with us. Once we became successful, me and Tim was always thinking of the next step. And I think you have so many promoters doing that now instead of, enjoying the success. We're on the top of the mountain. We're having the greatest success we ever had. I think a lot of them are, a lot of promoters are already thinking what's next for us. What's excuse me, what's our next step? Are we going to partner with someone? Are we going
Which you
to
have.
right? I mean, it's always think for the next. I think everybody is moving forward instead of staying still.
Well said. I like that. John,
Yeah, I
asking.
get fired up when you're talking about business.
I'm here for it, man. That's part of the beauty of this conversation. We haven't had anybody that's in your seat, that's in your within your role in a company before on the program. So it's It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it's not like we're sitting here like, hey, tell us about an angle that you really liked, or this thing. No, it's different for us to have a guy like you sit down with us because, how often does a Fed head get to go out and talk about the way the business works, or
Right.
how you negotiate contracts, or what you think about the industry standards? Our audience wants to know about the business just as much as they want to know about the talent. And to have someone like you on our show and have the ability to ask you questions like this is a rare opportunity for us, and we definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
But it gives a wider scope on like what it is to run a company, and it isn't easy. It's not easy to be a
No.
worker, but it's definitely not easy to be the guy in charge and keep the cogs moving to make sure that they have that platform to make their money and be in front of their fans. And that's a different headache altogether than just being a worker and showing up for your match. That's a different thing altogether because those guys are relying on you to get that money in the pocket, and if you don't come through on your end, then they don't get paid, and that's a big responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, people have no idea how much, work goes on behind the scenes. They think, oh, you throw a fancy little graphic on social media and, everything is going to go, smooth and everything's great. You got 400 people there and they just showed up all on their own. It's a lot,
That
it's
would be
it's
great if it
a,
did work that way, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I'd have a lot more of this and a lot less of this over here,
I
but
understand.
um, but yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but it's so rewarding at the end. I mean, you know, it's the craziest thing. People see me or Tim at the end of a show, they're like, "You're loading stuff up on the trailer." We look at them like, "Yeah, how else is it going to
Somebody's
get
got to
back?"
do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, one per. It's just one person is not bigger than the other person. We all have to do. It's all hands on deck. Every Saturday we put on a show. It's every all hands on deck.
I look at that as one of those situations of I don't ask anybody to do anything that I won't do myself. So
Correct.
that's very commendable. I know that we've taken up a lot of time. I know that it's a school night, as they say. I don't want to. We could probably keep you another hour easy. But I want to
Hey,
be.
whenever you want to do the territory show, I'll be more than glad to come on here and talk about that.
No, we do that.
We have one on the channel. They do a territory show on Saturdays.
We do Saturday morning live streams, 7:30 a.m. For the Territories and Rivalry show. But I'll set something up with you, and I'll bring you on the Twitch channel, and we'll sit down. We'll circle around, and I'll have you back
Definitely.
on, and we'll watch some of the old school stuff that you liked back in the day, and we'll sit down and talk about it and watch it and just discuss it as it goes. Those shows are always fun, man. Like this is ultimately, like I said earlier, we were about building the relationships with people, and doing as whatever we can do really to promote whatever's going on, and just you guys showing up and sitting down and talking to us about what you have going on in the business. It goes a long way, and like I meant it when I said earlier, if there's anything we can do for you guys, you have my contact information. You know how to reach me. All you gotta do is ask, and if it's within power and within what I can do, I'll be happy to do whatever. Our whole
Well,
platform has led. I mean, I'm going to end it with this or wrap this up. Like it's led me and led us to producing Paul Orndorff's son podcast, Travis Orndorff. Like there's a lot that we're able to do, and you mentioned something earlier about trying to get into Florida. Let's link up because we're building
Yeah, there are
relationships with some
companies in Tampa
companies
where
down
he's
here.
at. There's companies in Jacksonville where I'm at. There's others people we've been in contact with. Maybe we can get you guys hooked up with something down here. And if nothing else, there are plenty of venues that are more than welcome to host wrestling shows and have you guys come down and do one. And if we can help you with marketing or promoting for it, we're all for that.
okay, and there's one thing that I completely forgot that I wanted to toot our own horn here. at IWE
Do shoot
about.
away.
So we were the first in Georgia to have a women's championship, and we were the trailblazers for bringing back the women's division in the state of Georgia. And let me tell you, if you think the men's division's on fire, you should see the women's division in the state of Georgia.
So I don't usually do this, and I don't usually ask people. Now we've had people say, "Hey, I can get you this guy, this guy, this guy." But no, we don't want you to go and do anything like that. Like just you put the word out that who we are, and if I approach them, cool. You tell me, or you, if you can, you line up something. I would love to talk to another female talent. We've only had one appear on Beyond the Bell, and that's Emily Taylor. She's a ring announcer, and it's almost like I can't find female talent that are willing to come on and promote them, promote themselves and what they're doing, and it's really weird to me because you know, I've got 4 months worth of guys. 5 months worth of male talent. I want to get the female representation out there as well. So if there's anybody in the IWE that's connected to the IWE, let me know. Like, I would love to get that kind of representation out here because the female
I-
talents are equally as tremendous as a lot of the men are out there.
If you go to our YouTube channel and want to watch one match, watch the Lindsay Snow Kelsey Reagan. It's not a death match, but it might as well have been.
Might as well be.
I tell you what, we haven't shot the spotlight episode for IWE yet, but we'll put that match on the spotlight and we'll watch it live. And
If any, and before I go and y'all wrap this up, if there's anything I can do for y'all, just let me know.
that
Oh, we
door's
appreciate it. You
door swings
spending
both
time with
ways.
us is all we need.
I'm gonna.
And if you're ever in Georgia and it's a show weekend, you let me know and we got 2 seats for you.
I was about to tell you, I'm gonna make a trip to Georgia and to catch a couple of shows. I'm trying to do it when there's several companies. There's 4 companies really right now that I'm working with or have worked with some guys and some talent. And I'd like to try and pull something off where at least 2 of those companies are running the same weekend, so I can show support to 2 companies and make the trip, worth it getting up there. It'd be worth it to see the show, don't get me wrong, and to catch up with these guys in person, but something totally different to be able to show up and support 2 companies that have talent that, we have become very friendly with, or, are working current projects with. We'll just put it that way as well.
Right.
But yeah,
Totally understandable.
and definitely let's circle around. If we can get you connected with anybody down here in Florida, we'll be happy to do that as well. And y'all work out whatever you need to work out.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, Mr. Josh, do you want to say anything to our peoples before we get ready to close it out?
Just follow us on all the links, and
Right there.
everybody hits that subscribe button or like on Twitter. Excuse me, X. I got to get used to that. On
We're still
X,
getting used to it too.
yes. Any of that support is much appreciated. You don't know how much.
Don, take us home, man.
Well, guys, you know exactly how best to support your independent wrestling, and this is no different. If you can't make it to a show because you're somewhere not around it, you can't buy a t-shirt because your wallet's too empty and you got flies crawling out, you can always like and share. Show the product to your friends. Somebody out there can buy a t-shirt and support independence. It is the easiest way. It is free. Click all the buttons. Drop the savage elbows on the subscribe buttons. Never miss what independents are throwing down right now. You guys know we love sharing our passion for this business with you and love having you share it with us. Get with our Discord, go down to the links below, click all the buttons, follow everyone, share it to your friends. They want to see it. And if you're not sharing it to your friends, you're being a bad friend. Until next time, guys and gals, we love each and every one of your faces. Support your local indies in the only ways that you can. And we love you guys. See you next time.
We'll see you next week with Dion Summers. You guys have a good one.